Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. Shane Beamer, the South Carolina Gamecocks, taking the momentum that they found on the football field in the back half of 2024, putting that momentum onto the recruiting trail, landing the commitment of what I think is fascinating three-star defensive lineman, Christian Ingram from the state of Georgia. The reason I use the word fascinating is, you go back 6 months ago, not a massive power four prospect that was on a lot of programs' radars. You kind of look at the last 2 months. Georgia comes calling, Michigan comes calling, USC comes calling. It sounded like he was going to USC up until this morning, and Shane Beamer, the South Carolina Gamecocks, get this one done. I think this is big for a couple of different reasons, and I think most notably, why has South Carolina been one of the best teams in the country in 2024? They're dominating up front. This is one of the best defensive lines that we see in all of college football. Top 5 in sack percentage, top 10 stopping the run. Shane Beamer kind of knows how he wants to build this program, and that is along the lines of scrimmage. They've done a really good job recruiting some young talent on the offensive line. We've already seen this offensive line get better as 2024 goes on. You're going to lose some big names on the defensive line. You want to make sure you're keeping that pipeline full. Christian Ingram, one of those guys. And I think the ceiling for Christian Ingram is really high, probably better than what he is as a football player right now. That's probably why he's a three-star prospect. 6'6", 290. Like that's the frame we're looking for. And you take a look at him and say, hey, he carries 290 pounds, about as well you can carry that weight. Really good athlete with really good length. I think the one thing you want to see as we get into his film that you want to see him get better at is being a little bit more violent at the point of attack. I think this kid's a strong kid. You want to see it kind of manifest itself on the football field a little bit more, but from a pure physical trait standpoint and upside standpoint, you're betting on this kid every single day of the week. Want to get into a little bit about what Christian Ingram brings to the South Carolina team. Now, before we get into it, as always, the South Carolina fans, y'all have shown a ton of love to the boys over the last month and a half. It's been so fun talking about this team. And many of y'all know banging the table for South Carolina to be a college football playoff team. I think it was the wrong decision. We talked about it last night. Regardless of that, you can tell the future is bright for South Carolina. You have a quarterback that you can win at the highest level of the sport with Lenore Sellers. You kind of know this South Carolina team is going to get very active in the transfer portal over the next couple of weeks as well. There's a lot of building blocks heading into 2025. I think this train's only going in the right direction, and y'all have been rocking with it in a big way. Appreciate you guys. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Without further ado, getting into Christian Ingram, you start with this. It is never a bad thing to just stack these guys on the defensive line on the high school class. It's really, really hard. And South Carolina did a really good job grabbing a guy like Kyle Kennard to come in and be a difference maker. It's hard to hit on those guys consistently in the portal. Know what you want. You want guys like Dylan Stewart. You got guys like Christian Ingram who are coming in the high school ranks, kind of get developed. Now, Dylan Stewart was a really unique kid because he was ready to go year one. I think Christian Ingram could be a rotational piece. I think he could certainly get into the rotation. I don't think he's going to come in and have the impact that Dylan Stewart has. That I don't know if we're going to see that for a very long time. That's a special true freshman. But beside that fact, Christian Ingram, just another one of those big athletic bodies that you can put in that defensive line pipeline and kind of see what they look like going into 2026 and in 2027. That's what South Carolina has been doing on the offensive line. And I would project that this offensive line, although they will lose some veteran pieces, I think it's going to be a better unit in 2025 because you just look at the young talent they have in that room and say they're only going to get better going into, in some cases, year two, in some cases, year three. And so I think Christian Ingram is one of those guys you want to stockpile away. You get into the film and you do see the flashes of physical dominance. You just want to see it a little bit more. You start rolling it. I think what's most exciting is the athlete in length. I mean, he is really, really good at getting off blocks. And that's something, South Carolina on the inside of the defensive line, they got some big bodies, but it's more or less athletic big bodies than it is just really big bodies. That's how South Carolina wants to do it. They want athletic interior defensive linemen that can create a lot of negative plays. That's been the key for South Carolina in the 2024 year. But you got to have those athletic defensive linemen also be able to stand up at the point of attack. And I think Christian Ingram certainly has that. Again, you see the flashes right there. You want to see a little bit more violence off the line of scrimmage. You love the athleticism in terms of getting off blocks. And you take a look at this rep right here. This is what you want to see more of here, where I'm going to get out of my stance. I'm going to shock the opposing offensive lineman with my power and just kind of put them right into the lap of the quarterback and go make a play. You see the glimpses of it. Now we just need to see it a little bit more consistently from Christian Ingram. And again, athleticism. Like, this kid runs the line of scrimmage exceptionally well. Again, you want to see a little bit more power off the line of scrimmage. Run that line of scrimmage. Go make a play. Really, really good athlete for 290 pounds. You look at South Carolina in 2025, I mean, they've been hot. You're taking a look, you're kind of knocking on the door of a top 20 class. It will be supplemented in the transfer portal. And, South Carolina is not done. You look at Mike Tyler. I think one of the more intriguing tight ends in this 2025 cycle. He's only a 3-star, 6'3", 225, blocks his tail off even though he's not the biggest. Really, really fluid pass catcher. He's going to be more of a pass-catching tight end that you can do a lot of different things with. And if you're Mike Tyler, you're looking at the success Joshua Simons had for South Carolina and say, yeah, if you're an elite tight end, you want to go play for South Carolina because you're going to be featured in the passing attack. Another name that I think is signing a little bit later, Donovan Murphy, who's a reclass from 2026 to 2025, been on campus multiple times for South Carolina. I look at Donovan Murphy. This is kind of what South Carolina is looking for. I think it's fair to say you want some more dynamic pass catchers on the outside. The wide receiver play has gotten better as Lenore Sellers has gotten better, but you probably still want to continue to surround Lenore Sellers with some real elite weapons on the outside. Zale Bennett as a true freshman coming into his own. Nick Harbor, I think, might take a massive step. We're already seeing him take that step in the middle of his second year. What is he going to look like in year 3? I think that really excites South Carolina fans. You're bringing a guy in Donovan Murphy who's kind of a do-it-all wide receiver, big body, can work vertically down the field, also really good after the catch. Another really good fit for the South Carolina offense. That's probably going to be the goal for South Carolina in the offseason. And that is, how can we best build around Lenore Sellers to really allow him to take a massive step in the right direction in the 2025 year? You got the hard part figured out, in my opinion. You got your quarterback that you can win at a very high level with. Now it's about maximizing him and giving him everything you can to allow him to be really successful in 2025. That's what South Carolina, I think, is going to do. You can do that in the high school recruiting class with guys like Mike Tyler and Donovan Murphy. You can also do that in the transfer portal as well, which I expect South Carolina to be really active in. We'll close it out there. Again, you say disappointing result from the College Football Playoff Committee, but a phenomenally exciting season from the South Carolina team. It's been a blast talking about him. Y'all show a ton of support, so we appreciate you guys. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. We'll talk to y'all later. Peace.